Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to make a hammer holder. I've got about 10 different hammers here that I need to organize in both an efficient and accessible manner. So let's dive in and figure out how to do that. I have one hammer that I use more than any of them, and that hammer I have stored up on my workbench. But for the rest of them, I can kind of have them a little bit out of the way, but I still want to be able to see what I have. So I picked up a couple of L brackets, and what I'm going to do is secure these, one to the front and back of my toolbox here, and then I'm going to run a 2x2 connecting, actually two 2x2s connecting these two, one here and one here, and then the hammers will be able to slip down in between them. I've measured this toolbox and it's 18 inches deep, so I'm going to go cut two 2x2s that are 18 inches long. Then I'll just hit these with a little bit of 150 grit sandpaper. So we have our two pieces cut to the depth of our toolbox. Next thing we need to do is figure out exactly how far apart these need to be. It looks like my dead blow hammer is the hammer with the widest swale on the bottom of the handle. So I'm going to use that to kind of get a gauge for how far apart we want them to be. So I'm going to try it right there and go ahead and mock this up in place. And it looks like they're about even. So we can set that in. That seems like it would do quite well. My hatchet also has kind of just a little bit wider face to it. So you can see how that kind of juts out a little bit. We're going to stick all of them in here and see how they do. See if that would be a good width. See if anything could potentially want to fall out. Got the sledgehammer. It's going to stay in there nicely. Now the one I'm concerned about is this tiny little ball peen. If it could, even at that wide, it's not going to fall out. And then this little chipping hammer. So now this is going to be a 5-inch L bracket, and it looks like that'll be the perfect depth if we put these to the edge of the L bracket there, and it's the same on the back. So I'm going to go and mount these up and get them in place. These brackets come pre-punched with 3 holes in each leg, but they're not placed exactly where I need them to go into the 2x2, so I'm going to drill my own holes. Anytime you drill through a piece of metal, there's a burr that's left on the back side. So I flip the bracket around. Now I'm going to use a bigger drill bit and just touch it briefly to that hole, and it's going to remove that burr. It's nice and smooth, and it'll receive that 2x2 nice and level and flat. Let's do the other one. Now we're ready to go ahead and secure our L brackets to the 2x2s. I'm going to line these up with the front of my workbench just so I can make sure that the front edge that you'll see from the front of the toolbox is parallel, that the two boards are parallel to each other. I'm just using an 1 5/8 drywall screw on these. It might be 1 1/4, not 1 5/8. Secures nicely. Now I'll do the back one. This is where it's more important to line both of these up with that front edge. And grab a square and make sure, if I can, I want to make sure that this L bracket is square to that other 2x2. There we go. So center that, screw it in. Alright, now let's flip it around and do the other side. Now we're ready to secure the bracket to the side of the toolbox. I have this 13 inches up from the bottom of the toolbox. Using the average length of the handles, I want the handles to end about the bottom of the toolbox. So that's what, for me, determines how high this bracket gets set. When I bought the supplies to do this project, I got some 5/16 bolts that I could drill a hole in the side of the toolbox and put a nut and a fender washer on the inside. However, the framing of the inside of the box is built in such a way that I can't get a nut to it and really can't get a fender washer back there. So I'm going to use one of these Tech screws. It's a self-drilling sheet metal screw that allows me just to run this straight in, and there's no nut or anything needed on the back side. So I'm going to go ahead and chuck up a 3/8 socket in my drill and go ahead and screw these in. You can bring the camera in a little bit closer and see how that works. Just like that, and then we'll do one on the back. We've got it all put together, now we're ready to fill it up. Starting with my least used hammers in the back, some of these smaller ones. I made this to accommodate pretty much any size hammer handle. You could really use this same setup even on, say, sledgehammers or axes. Just mount it a little bit higher off the ground, and you might have to space these a little bit wider, but that should do the trick. That's it for this video. If you want to see more videos like this, hit subscribe and tap the bell to be notified about future videos. We'll see you next time.